Oh my God, we forgot to introduce the show again.
Motherfucker.
This is I Know What You Watched Last Summer,
Ooh.
episode do. There you have it. Cut, put at the top again.
I know
What you watched.
last summer.
But would you be my friend if I was a corpse?
Absolutely. You're super cool.
That was the first thing I needed to get out of the way before we tackle this.
Should we also start it off with the da 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 da?
Yes, Jurassic theme. But my personal favorite was the Cotton Eye Joe, because I am annoying.
Oh my god. That was fucking awesome too. I yeah, I mean that line is like totally gets you. I'm like fucking you just sing songs you fucking hate and you can't get them out of your head. And I'm like, that's totally how I feel about it. The best 90s techno hillbilly music in the world.
It reminds me of like a roller rink when I'm 8 years old and I'm just so terrified that someone's gonna roll over my fingers if I fall.
Mhm.
But anyway, who are you first off?
Well, first off, I'm Aussie Prescott. I'm an Englishman now, but I'm Australian this second.
The second, once removed.
Yeah, Aussie Prescott, fashion extraordinaire, most famous man in the world.
And I am Frankie Stein. Today we are talking about Swiss Army Man. I almost said Hank Thompson, but that's definitely the character's name.
Yeah,
When did you know that this movie was going to be what it was?
I mean, it's even before watching the movie. I remember watching the trailer and I'm like, this is super spontaneous. This looks really awesome. But as funny as it was, like I remember watching the trailer back in I think like either 2015, 2016. I think this is when that movie came out. Yeah, the movie came out in 2016. So I remember watching the trailer way back then. And I knew I was really interested in watching it, but I never caught up with that ambition. And I've only recently watched it this year, and I'm forever grateful because this movie's fucking awesome. It's like I don't know. I guess for me, the best way to really express what it feels like it feels like watching a live action cartoon. It's very cartoony.
Yes, yeah. What's his name? Paul Dano actually was talking about that in like a Q&A that I saw, because they being the person in the audience had asked what their thought was on practical effects when a lot of stuff is just green screen now. And he was like, yeah, well, this movie in relation to animation just feels like a live action animation.
Right?
And that's exactly how I felt watching it too.
It is so cool. It's I don't know, it's so special. It's like I think its grander message is like only I don't know, it complements its looniness because I feel like almost like with its message, it's like it best complements the way the film was told and its like craziness and was only able to get that I think fully through being the way it was. I mean, I guess you could do it in other ways, but it really went well together. For you, what was your first impressions about it? Like, what do you think?
I have a very dark sense of humor. Not in like the way a lot of neckbeards have co-opted that phrase dark sense of humor, because a lot of the time, like you can't trust a 35-year-old white guy who's like, I have a dark sense of humor. And I'm like, that just means you're racist. Like, I don't want to hear that. And mine's pretty morbid in a lot of ways, but also when I was trying to meet people on Bumble, I had one of the prompts. It was like, describe your sense of humor or something. And I said, shitty, as in, I still laugh at fart jokes. Those two things were fully culminated in the first 9 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Like within the first 9 minutes, I was like, oh, this is it. Like I'm like I'm gonna love this. He goes in ready to take his own life due to the fact that he doesn't think he's gonna be saved. And then we've got this corpse bloated, farting all over the place. And it interrupts him when he's trying to say something so genuine and heartfelt. And then he's just interrupted by farts. And then that was his 13th reason. So he just takes the belt off and then he's back at it. And it was so perfect. And the timing and
It's wonderful.
and then once he takes off on the fart jet ski corpse, I was like, oh, I'm in this.
Yeah, right. I like, okay, this is where it really starts. Um, yeah. I mean, at first it's like, I think well, I've learned through like, I guess media, like supposedly we're supposed to like take a shit or whatever when we die. And so I think in the first inclination, like, all right, well, he's just dead. So he just shit himself and whatever, those first farts, that we hear. Because he's like, oh, that's funny. And then he gets closer to him and then he just does it again. And I'm like, okay, so I think the audience is supposed to register, like, all right, he's dead. He's gonna go back, he's gonna go hang himself. But when the farts continue, the body moves and it just slowly rides into the ocean. And he's like, what? Like, well, it's the same expression. Like everybody's in that audience who's watching the movies, like, what the fuck is going on? And then I'm like, yeah, like just the way you said it, you're in for a ride. He fucking takes off the news, fucking dashes towards the beach to the water and hops on, and then boom, he's on his way. Is like, I don't know. The movie starts with the fart, ends with the fart.
Yes, and actually, I was looking into the Daniels, the writers and directors, because I was like, I need to know about the dynamic duo that made this movie happen. And they had called Paul Dano, the guy that plays Hank Thompson.
Hank Thompson, yeah.
And they call him after they send him the script, and they're like, we wanted to make a movie that starts with a fart that makes you laugh and ends with a fart that makes you cry.
It was perfect, yeah.
Fully, they accomplished what they wanted to, because I can't gush about this movie enough. Like, I watched the full thing probably like twice all the way through, just because I watched it myself, and then I was talking to other people and I was like, you gotta watch this, and then watched it with them. So
yeah,
10 out of 10 would recommend. I remember seeing the trailer and thinking, okay, this is just and I'm also not one to watch trailers because I feel like a lot of them give too much of the plot away. But I had seen this trailer prior to seeing another movie, and I was like, I don't know, that might be a miss for A24, but perfect. Loved every second.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think A24 kind of has, or A24, however you want to say it, they kind of got I don't know, they're like a hit and miss kind of. Like, I like that they put out stuff that would never be made or usually made by any other type of production company, which is really cool. Like, I watched Lamb. Have you ever seen Lamb?
I wanted to when it was in theaters. Scream, the newest Scream, ended up being my first intro prior to the first outbreak of Rona. I wanted to go see Lamb prior to that, and I heard some not good things.
Yeah.
So I would trust your opinion over the opinion of those on TikTok personally, because I've been led astray by TikTok people before.
Honest, I want to watch it again just to gather some stuff, but overall, the take is like, I don't feel like you're gonna gather like new ground once you rewatch it. I kind of have that inclination, but I still want to. It's it has a major theme kind of rolling with everything that's going on, and but the ending is kind of surprising, and I'm like, all right, this would not roll well with people who went to go watch a movie thinking they're gonna kind of watch like maybe a scary movie, which it was kind of like tailor made to be kind of during the trailers, because trailers are kind of misleading. Like Midsummer, like I remember watching that with you. I thought that was going to be more like horrific or like in that genre, and to me it was just more of a trip. It was like a really like and I don't know, it's a festival, right? It follows along a festival, so that's kind of what it felt like in that sense too. So I mean, I think what A24 does is like they really have a good job of like changing what your perspective is going to be and what you think you're going to get, and you're not going to get that for the most part all the way. And so with this movie, it was the same way. Would have never expected to be what it is, but I'm really happy I watched it. I almost want to say it's like the most romantic movie I've ever seen in my life.
I would agree with that. I
Right?
mean, I've watched not a lot. I know my sister really likes rom-coms. I feel like she likes them because they're so predictable, and then that's like a comfort thing. But
Oh, okay.
truly, I cannot even entertain that idea. Like, I can't. I've seen a couple, and I'm like, okay. And then the most popular fucking rom-com, according to a lot of people, is 50 First Dates. But I watched that, and I'm like, first, okay,
Oh man. All right, we're gonna have conflicting opinions on this. So you tell me.
I was high out of my gourd, and I watched that movie, and I was like, oh my God, this man is her captor. She shouldn't be here. She should be in a medical facility where she can receive proper treatment. I was like, how terrifying could that be? And then I watched it again, sober as a church mouse, and I stand by that. I stand by it, and I think that movie is abusive, and I will die on that hill. But
I got you. I understand. Okay, I can see that point of view. I think it's like the sentiment, like, God, this guy is going through such extreme lengths just to make somebody love him every single day. Is like, I guess that's kind of the like ushy gushy thing, like that melts people's hearts. And I see that. I feel that too. I can kind of see that. But I'm also seeing your point. I know what you mean. Because like he's really, I don't know. I mean, yeah, she definitely does need help, and it's probably should be taken care of in a different way.
imagine the trauma of waking up not remembering anything, and you're 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a dream I was pregnant last night. Woke up very sad, very scared.
Whoa.
That's besides the point. So, Swiss Army Man is essentially, for those that haven't seen it, is about this man who is at the brink of death, and he comes across this corpse, Daniel Radcliffe, and finds that he is able to utilize him in the way that you would a Swiss Army knife, and use him to navigate his way back home to civilization. And it's so crazy that you would hear that summary and think that it's beautiful and poetic and romantic, because it starts with a farting corpse and then it ends with a farting corpse.
I was reading that what like when they first not aired it, but showed it off, that basically within that first like 10 minutes or so, that a like bunch of the audience just left as soon as like the fart started going off. They're like, yeah, okay, we're done. We're done.
I heard Daniel Radcliffe talk about that, and he said, well, because it was a Sundance, one of the first screenings that rumor got started, but he was like, some people probably did leave, but it's a bunch of like directors, producers, and probably critics that have a bunch of screenings that they need to go to. So,
Mm,
I mean, that I could see, but also if people are like, find jokes, well, one, you don't need them.
no, I agree.
You don't need those haters.
To his credit, Adam Sandler's got some decent stuff when he actually tries, which I do like. I'm not going to praise him for being like the best filmmaker in the world, but if people could, watch an Adam Sandler for an hour and 30 with any of his fart jokes, I mean, I think people could stay along with this ride and kind of get something with more something that's not so shallow. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think probably if people did leave aghast and were like, oh no, this is too offensive, I don't think it was the farts. I think it was the origin of the farts, which is a corpse. And to his credit, this doesn't sound like a compliment. Like, I wouldn't think this to be any kind of praise, but Daniel Radcliffe plays a very convincing corpse.
Yeah, he does.
He does such a good job.
The eye thing, and then they're like, I don't know. It's like I can't do that stuff.
And that and his rigor mortis that he works through. Oh, it was really good.
Well, going back to that comment, like, because maybe it was because it was coming from a dead body. I mean, don't you feel like we're kind of like that new age of just like we just get all this type of imagery throughout like our social media and stuff. Like, would that be kind of like, all right, I know I'm watching a movie, like, it's not real. Like, I just feel like we'd be kind of used to seeing things like that.
You would think, but at the same time, I have to remind myself, some people are actually wound that tight, and they're just like, oh, me. It's just real puritanical. But
Yeah, I get you.
because if they weren't going to walk out at the farts, they were definitely going to walk out at the potential necromancy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little half on half on that scene.
Major spoiler alerts. Here we go. So, what was your favorite thing while watching it? Like because I know in my head when I watch movies, I'm extra obnoxious to my own mind because I'm so consumed with how they made it. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking about the score, like whether it's orchestral, just anything. I'm thinking about like how someone culminated the music. And then if they had a really cool effect, I'm like, oh, how'd they get that shot?
No, I get you.
It's just a lot going on upstairs while I'm making it. But what like that stuck out to you?
Actually, one of those things is with the score. I mean, to me, I can you consider this kind of a cappella or kind of in a way?
Yeah, I definitely would.
Yeah, that's what I felt when I was watching it. I really liked it. Like, I mean, I don't know, it wasn't I don't know if this movie was super expensive to make. Maybe not. I mean, it was simple and it got its message like clear cut and how they wanted to do everything. I felt like it was it wasn't like this grand thing, and it was very simple and I enjoyed the simplicity of it. Um I'll just say what I liked a lot about the movie, as I said, was like how cartoony it is, but also how I love video games, and it was very video gamey because it was like every time he showed him things about life, accessed him to another utility of him to use. So
Mm-hmm.
to me it was like, oh, you got an upgrade basically. I don't know, I like kind of like that like pattern of he was just showing him how to be alive again and to love and to feel all these emotions, and like through that he would get all these new abilities like the karate chop arm, the machine gun throat thing.
Yeah.
That was awesome. uh what else? The fart fire thing with the snap, that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty cool. Like, I don't know, I just enjoyed all like the lunacy because I don't know, I'm really into cartoons and video games, so it really clicked in with me. I don't know, it was like a little passionate thing coming off on me. So like those are one of the things that kind of came to me. What about you? What do you think? What did you find that you really enjoyed watching and stuff?
I really took note of the score within the first 10 minutes because Hank is singing to himself as sort of like a comforting thing. And I mean, to his credit, I have been alone for several days before, and I started to feel the effects mentally at around day 4. So the fact it doesn't ever disclose how long he was out there, I don't believe.
No.
If I found a corpse, I'd have a tea party with it. I don't know if I'd be able to actually use them like a Swiss Army knife, but I best believe I'd be like singing the Moulin Rouge duets with them. Like I would fully be animating this not person anymore. Like I I don't think it's weird. It really because I went crazy after like 4 days and I fully had the disposal of like society right outside, but I was in a city that I wasn't familiar with. I had no one to talk to. I started doing like prison workouts and
Okay. You're really getting into it, huh?
it was a rough 4 days for me, but I fully understand his animating of this body. And I really liked the water effect.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the first indicator of like, oh, this is going to be kind of outlandish and cartoony. The fact that it wasn't just like a mouthful of dribble, it was pressurized water just being blasted out like a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
What I loved about this production, because I can tell, as I think most people can over the age of 9, they can tell when something is a practical effect and something is all green screen
Mm.
and added in post. And that drives me cuckoo bananas. And I think that's one of the many reasons I can't really handle watching Marvel. Many reasons. I'm not like a Marvel fan,
No, I get you.
but it's like the fact that everything feels artificial just hurts my eyeballs. If you ever go, I don't know how recently you've ever gone back to watch Blue People. They're on the planet, Jake Sully, on the planet Pandora. Avatar.
Avatar. Okay. I was almost gonna say Smurfs. I'm like, I don't know.
Question mark? If you've ever like gone back and watched Avatar, it does not hold up visually the way you think it might. I remember seeing it in theaters and being like blown away. I was like, oh, real 3D. Look at these fun glasses. And I watched a clip of it a couple years ago and I was like, whoa, this looks so bad.
Yeah.
And so I'm really appreciative of the fact that they took their time to create these effects, like the fart jet ski thing. I also have to commend Daniel Radcliffe because he was told, he was like, well, we're just going to make a butt mold and fit it with a tube for the pressurized air to come out and it'll be like a jet ski. And he was like, but I want it to be of my butt. And they're like, well, that it doesn't have to be. And he was like, well,
I want it.
he was like, I'd rather have it be my own butt and know that that's me up there than you guys make a fake butt that I'm not going to be happy with. And so I was like, hell yeah.
That's awesome. That's fucking cool. It's like, yeah, okay. Well, now I know he's got, that's his real hair on his butt.
Could you imagine having the job of grafting that hair?
It's got to look perfect.
Hey, who's finishing the hair grafting on the butt cheeks? We need it ready by tomorrow.
I mean, that guy has the best job in the world.
He seems really fun to work with from what I'd looked into, just because he was just really all for it. Because I know he had a body double for this, but other than the scenes where he's, being hurled down the side of a mountain and the raccoon, where the raccoon got up in his mouth.
Yeah.
Woo! I mean, yeah, they look like cute little trash pandas, but the fact that they've got thumbs.
Oh, motherfuckers, yeah.
And the ones up here are enormous.
Serious?
They are so fucking big. Like, I remember there was a group of 4 of them walking across the street at night, and I was like, that's the biggest cat I've ever seen. But as I got closer, I could see the posture of it, and I was like, oh, that is not a cat.
Oh my God. If you could give me a scale, like how big are these things?
I would say the ones that I saw in my backyard were easily 50 to 60 pounds.
Oh my God.
Like, they were at my back door, I think because they were used to this house being vacant. So they were able to just kind of cut through the backyard. But they came up to the glass door and our dog saw them and started barking. And I was like, they will rip you up. And she is a 45-pound pit bull, fully shredded. She is yoked, all muscle, the thickest skull you've ever seen. And I was like, they will rip you to shreds.
Oh my God. Like zombies, right? Just like
I was like, if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, yeah, body double. Bring in the dummy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wouldn't want to get bit by one. Yeah, they look pretty ruthless, honestly. What other scenes did you like?
One of the many things that pulled me in within the first 10 minutes was the acapella you mentioned, because they just had it what felt like on a loop pedal, because as he's singing for his own comfort right at the beginning, and then he's going to Manny, I guess is the corpse's name. He's going to get Manny as he's being washed out to sea. He stopped singing, but before that he's like ba 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 ba, and then it just keeps going on a loop pedal, and they do that a bunch of times throughout, and it's interesting too because I love what they did, but I don't like acapella.
Me either. I'm on that side of the road. Me either. I don't like it.
What I found out was that the Daniels actually put in a bunch of things that they're not huge fans of. They're not a fan of corporal humor like poop or fart jokes. And I was like, interesting.
Okay. Well.
But, it was quintessential to the storyline. They hate the song Cotton Eye Joe because it's one of those earworms that just kind of gets caught in your head.
Yeah.
They're also, Daniel Kwan at least, is not a fan of acapella. And so because acapella essentially is voices replicating instruments, he instructed the people responsible for the score. So they brought in the guys from Manchester Orchestra, which hearing that name just brought me back to like 2012, 2014, when I used to listen to them a lot. But the Daniels had directed a music video for them and then was set to direct another, but then they started preliminary stuff for this movie. So they brought in them to do the score, and Daniel Kwan at least directed, he said, I don't want the voices to sound like they're replicating instruments. I want it to very clearly be like vocal stuff. I want it to be messy and I want it to be raspy. And I loved what he did and the direction that he went with that, because I don't know, maybe it's me being biased because I absolutely loathe the character Andy from The Office, and I associate him with acapella. But I like what they did a lot.
I think those are good points. Honestly, at some point towards the beginning of it, I was like, oh god, this is gonna get really annoying. Thankfully, later on, like I don't know why. Maybe it's because of his direction, what he told him to do, is why I didn't really want to blow my brains out. But it became something I actually enjoyed more. I'm like, I felt like I was on the ride with them. Hank and Manny's like adventure, and like I'm with them. They're, he's doing that in ways to comfort himself, and so I got with it, and I ended up liking it. What do you think are the strongest themes on this? Like for me, I thought one of the probably the biggest theme is conquering fear. It was, to me, what kind of rose above everything else. Hank kind of starting to remember a lot of, as he's trying to teach Manny how to live life and what life is really like, bringing him back. He's kind of remembering his own life and how afraid he was of everything, and kind of that's why he got trapped on that island, was because he was running away from everything. Mm-hmm. And just kind of afraid to live life. And I think whether going up to talk to Sarah Johnson and get her to like him, and or his acceptance with his dad, like he just has all these things where he's just so afraid. And I don't know, like Manny, I think almost kind of helps him get through it all, and where he learns to kind of accept himself. Like what do you think? Do you think that would be one of the biggest themes, or is there something else that kind of rises above that you saw more? Or
my biggest takeaway was just because I thought, and I concluded in the end, that Manny never was, he never became sentient again. Yeah. So in my eyes, it was just concluding you are your own best company sometimes. Like when the world around you kind of fails, whether it's the idea he projected about Sarah and the fact that, it's okay. Like if your dad doesn't want to accept you, if your dad is a piece of shit and he's like not going to be, a support system for you, that's his loss, and you got to keep it pushing. And so in the end, because Manny was just a projection of himself and his thoughts and his interests and loves and quirks, it was just like, it's okay to enjoy your own company. Like you're fine with that. And so I don't know if that even crossed the mind of other people, but like towards the end of it, I was like, that's pretty cool. Like I like the way that, I don't even know if that was intentional on their end.
Yeah, it's like a beautiful sentiment, right? I mean, it's yeah, I would agree to that. It's like enjoying your own company, your acceptance of yourself, getting over the fear of life and what it brings. And and even though if you are weird or a little strange, or somebody doesn't get you, I think that's like part of the point. Like, no one needs to really understand,
No, and it's like the ones that get it. The ones that don't. And it's fine. You don't need to explain yourself. You could just keep it pushing, and the people that are gonna, resonate with you and have you resonate with them, they're gonna find you. Like you just got to keep putting yourself out there, and that's what I don't think he was doing. He wasn't giving himself the opportunity to find like-minded people. Also, let's talk about the nice guy persona. From the moment they found that Sports Illustrated thing in the woods, that's also a huge question I have. Is woods porn real? Do people factually, do people hide porn in the woods? Because why? Put it under your bed. Put it in your pillowcase. Put it in your sock drawer. Put it on a bookshelf. I don't care. Like, it's so strange.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's probably not even a problem now because I mean, like everybody's got their phone, right, or computer or whatever, and then you can lock your door. I don't know. I guess maybe like back in the day, maybe that was a thing. Like, all right,
Because even Hank, like as they get the Sports Illustrated, he was like, they found it in the roots of a tree, and he was like, I used to have to go digging in the bushes by the highway to find something like this, and I'm like, what? Why?
well, I don't know. Think about it. Like, say if you're, I don't know, maybe your parents aren't like super like on you about going out and stuff, and like you can't jack off or jack it at home, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to the woods, I'm gonna go have myself a good time, and then I'm gonna come back. you know
Gotta go get some poison ivy on my butt cheeks, and I don't know.
oh god, that would suck ass.
It seems like an uncomfortable experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it.
Showers exist. I don't know.
Yeah, people can figure it out, right, without the need to go to the woods.
I would think, but since the discovery of that Sports Illustrated, it felt like he was succumbing to not necessarily full-blown nice guy syndrome, but
Can you describe that to me? Because I'm a little like oblivious to like, what do you mean nice guy syndrome?
all right. Well, okay, so we've got people like you who are actual genuine nice guys.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I think there might be some sort of pipeline for people that are genuinely nice to ending up having nice guy syndrome. It's essentially when a man he befriends typically a woman and is like, you always go for the asshole, like, but why wouldn't you go out with me? I'm a nice guy. And it's like they fully negate her personal autonomy to
Ooh.
choose who she wants to date. And then it's like, well, you say you want all these things, I'm all of these things. Bitch, if she wanted to fucking date you, she would
She would.
fucking date you. Like,
Okay.
you are not owed anything. And then they're like, oh, I'm in the friend zone. The friend zone exists for friends. You are more than likely, if you're using the word friend zone, you're more than likely somebody she runs into in public or at a party, and she's like, this fucking guy. And then you're sitting over there like, where's my hug? Shut up.
Oh god, that's super cringe. Not gonna lie, you made me cringe right now.
Won't disclose and fully blow up his spot, but I do believe that there was somebody in the past that was in lust with me who I think was on the fast and furious track to becoming a nice guy, which is unfortunate because he is genuinely a nice person. And I didn't want to date him. I didn't even want to be his friend.
Yes.
But he was just like, but I'm a nice guy. You should. And I'm like,
One, I think I know who you're talking about. I think, all right, I know this person.
yeah, you're more than likely, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, I know this person, and then now I understand what you mean by that. Yeah, okay.
So I think that unnamed individual and Hank are riding the same rails. Hank was building up all of these stories of these women, and he's like, yeah, maybe this one, her name is Jessie, and she likes whatever the fuck. And he's building up these stories. That just essentially it's like an idealized version of a person. So I think that kind of, because he's not actually going out and socializing with women, like specifically the women that he wants to be around.
To know what they would say, right? Genuinely.
Yeah, he's got no idea. And he, at least in my experience with nice guys, they get upsetty when you go off script because they've built this whole scenario in their head.
Oh, oh God. Yeah.
I know, it's not pretty.
No, it's cringy. Well, I mean, it goes well with the film because when he's trying to set up those scenes for Manny to kind of picture all that, he dresses up as, Sarah, or they don't know her name at that moment, but like this girl, yeah, you're in a bus and you're just waiting, and you know that this girl, she comes on this bus stop every whatever 5 o'clock or 5 p.m. whatever it is, and then she's gonna sit right there. She's all alone. You're alone,
and you could ride with her. She doesn't have to be
Yeah.
alone. It's like, let her be alone.
Oh, but it also clings true to like what you're saying with that is that he doesn't socialize enough, so he's just probably just gathering these things where he just whatever he sees in the media, maybe in movies, like that whole scenario, like this is how it's supposed to be. Like you go up and you talk to her and you sweep her off her feet, blah blah blah, and all that stuff because it's all he knows, And yeah, it's a little like I guess in that point, like now, because when I was watching, I was like, oh, this is really romantic. This is really nice. But like when you bring up those points, it changes it a little bit differently. But I guess I don't think it takes away from its romantic element. I think it just kind of it doesn't become that girl. It just becomes more himself, like him loving himself more, as a genuine person.
Yeah, when I think of the romance aspect, she's not even in the equation
No.
because it's like that's another element to why I think Manny was fully just a projection of Hank onto this lifeless body, was because they being Hank, he lied to Manny saying that this was Manny's phone. Also, let's just say this. Anyone listening, do not take pictures of people in public without their consent.
Awkward, yeah, very awkward.
That's fucking weird. Don't do that. But quintessential to the plot of this story.
It's a screensaver. I'm like, oh man. Yeah, I mean, I think I went in the movie thinking like, oh, this is probably his girlfriend or something. Because when it comes out, like it's not Manny's phone, it's Hank's phone.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, oh, this is my phone. So like, all right, maybe he had a life before this. He's just remembering like the first time he met his girlfriend or whatever. And that's the things we're seeing. And then it just ends up not being that. I'm like, oh man, this is really weird.
I am non-binary, but as a feminine presenting person, 98% of the time, I have had my picture taken in public.
Serial?
Yeah, and I know because, well, oh my God, the most blatant one. I get off the subway. As I'm walking up the steps, some old ass man has one of those big old timey cameras. It flashes in my face. I felt like I went back in time. It blinded me for a moment and I was like, where am I? And he's like, you got a right look, kid. And I was like, pay me money.
Whoa.
When it comes out that it's Hank's phone and it's not Manny's, you kind of see that the crush that Manny started to develop on this person was just as real as Hank's crush, because it was all based on shit in his head. It wasn't the tangible evidence that this person had any interest in you, and like it was. So that's another factor that made me think like, oh yeah, this is just all projection.
Yeah, I agree. I think I guess I kind of like I've changed a lot just because I've grown up so much. But I feel like when I was younger, like in middle school and high school, like I think I did portray like those nice guys like elements because of that person we talk about just a bit ago, real life. I remember talking to you about it, and I'm like, yeah, because like I feel it because I'm like I used to kind of have some of those mannerisms, and I'm like I've changed because it's really not realistic. Because I mean, when a girl likes you, you just know. And then if you really like her, you should ask her out. And then because your time is kind of running out if to even let out your feelings of how you feel before, maybe she feels like if she likes you, like genuinely, like as a friend, like, that's when you become a friend, or whatever. But it's just like, it's either like you got your interests mixed up. I think most guys, for me, I felt it younger because at that time I didn't like have a lot of girlfriends, and like I've always like wanted to have that experience, and I think kind of I got caught up in that. But then after I had like some few relationships, I was able to like change my outlook a lot more. Like I wasn't looking just if I made friends with a girl, like I wasn't like looking to have anything romantic or anything. Like I knew I could be platonic and just, things were normal like that. And I grew out of it. So I almost feel like those things are like kind of maybe like if it goes on like as you're older, like maybe the nice guy syndrome just kind of stays because those people don't socialize very much and like never do as they get older. Which I think at that time that person did have trouble with that. Because you could kind of tell, like I could tell, you could tell. And And honestly, I think now I think he's a little better. So
Well, that's good.
yeah, I think he's grown up a little bit more. So I think that's awesome, and so I think he's doing better. But I kind of like relate to it, not a lot, but like I know what you mean now. And when you describe it, I'm like, okay, that's why sometimes it cringes, like makes me cringe because I'm like, oh god, I think I've done that before.
But I will say it's like it's way more socially acceptable for that to be, part of the learning process in some age group like middle school and high school. But when you are out in the world,
As an adult,
yeah,
it's very tough.
you really have to actually engage with people because otherwise closed mouths don't get fed. And so if you're never putting yourself out there, none of your feelings are going to get reciprocated. And
Mhm.
then when that doesn't happen for you, it will fester and turn to anger.
Is that what stems off from being in like nice guy syndrome to like incel? Do you think?
Yeah, it's a lot of anger, and then that turns to misogyny, and then
Mm,
I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that could skip the whole actual being nice guy thing and just go straight full throttle into misogyny, and they just truly hate women for a variety of reasons that they need to go to therapy for.
yeah.
But I think for a lot of people it does follow that road. And some people are more sensitive to rejection than others. But yeah, that's what I think Hank was going through. How old do you think he was in this film? He looked early to mid 20s.
I would say mid 20s. Yeah, that makes sense from the habits or like the things that are going on, and like maybe the thought patterns. I think I would say that's a good guess. I can't say 30. I feel like he would express different monologues or dialogues that wouldn't sound the way he does, if he was a little bit older. Because I mean, either if he was older and he was like, I don't know, still trying to get with a girl or something like that, he'd probably, or not get with the girl, but maybe he would be a lot more mad or just have like a lot of disdain. Because like I feel like when people get older who don't have their life work out so nicely, they just kind of grow just angry at the world. So I feel like that would have been more of what he would personify. But I feel like what was put on out there is probably around that range, 23 or 25.
I know very few people that could grow a full beard like that before the age of 20.
Yeah, oh, isn't that a thing? Paul Dano, he wasn't able to really grow a beard, so they just kind of like had to make one for him.
Did they?
Yeah, like he just had like patchy beard, and like which kind of sucks because I would love to grow a beard, but like I grow my mustache, I grow my soul patch, I can grow a goatee. This is kind of forming out nice, but it just doesn't fill in here. So it's like a half kind of, it's kind of a beard, but not really. I want the big bush on here, and I can't do it. I can't do it.
I
I
would
like,
like a mustache, but I can't grow one, so I bought one. And sometimes I just wear it.
you do?
Yeah. I'll send you a picture with me in it.
Okay.
I look good.
I bet you do. I bet you do. What are the other takeaways you got from this one?
I was listening to an interview with the Daniels, and I like how Daniel Kwan specifically was talking about how he wanted to create a film that really couldn't be boxed into any kind of genre, because I was trying to think
Mm,
about it for a while, and honestly I don't think I could pick one. I know it said, I think it was the streaming service, it said that it was a drama comedy type thing, um, which is interesting because under the dramedy umbrella, you have
yeah.
so many different things. Like Shameless, if you've ever watched Shameless, is considered a dramedy, and I would not put these in the same realm whatsoever. So Daniel Kwan was speaking on the fact that he's like, I like to remove the barriers between highbrow and lowbrow because I think it's more honest to what real life is.
Mm,
And I was like, yeah, I love that because it just, even though it was cartoony, it felt so raw and real in a lot of
mm.
aspects, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
He's got a boner that acts as a compass.
Oh, that was awesome.
He like can, fart and make them shoot up into the air like a dolphin, save them from drowning.
Or a bear.
I would say my favorite scene, and it's my favorite because I was so conflicted internally. It was when they're having a party they build all those things just really quickly, and they have like all those friends and they're dancing around, and
Yeah.
it's slow motion where Hank is dancing as Sarah in his hilarious mop head wig, and he's like pulling the strings that's helping Manny dance.
Yeah.
Again, a true testament to Daniel Radcliffe as a corpse, because he sold it while half of his face is still like frozen in rigor mortis. And I don't know if you noticed this, but this was something that I sort of got to after the whole issue with the Sports Illustrated, and the fact that Manny's experiencing a boner and he feels shame about that. But then it felt like through teaching Manny how to live, that act itself of Manny's whole character arc, it felt like a life cycle, just because at the beginning you've got Hank teaching him how to speak, physically speak, and then he's teaching him all of these social constructs and basic definitions of words. And even in the beginning, Manny's like, "Oh yeah, you ran away because no one loves you," and he's like, "You can't just say everything that's on your mind." So you're teaching what filters are, because little kids will say the most out of pocket stuff, and you're like, that was brutal, like you can't say that. And then it went from like early childhood to pubescence, where Hank is like, no, like that's fine, like that's a boner and that's normal, and he's like, I don't know what to do, and he's like, no, it's okay, like you'll be fine. And that act of you guiding him through this life cycle, it kind of felt like him healing his inner child, because he had a lot of like sexual repression stuff when
his parents, or his dad more. His mom was a little bit more accepting of it.
I don't know. Do you think so? With the, because she had said to him, every time you whack it, you age a little bit more. So if he did it fast enough, they would be the same age. As a kid, that would fuck me up.
Yeah. I think she was along with it. I think she was having fun. Well, probably what, because he says she died shortly after. So maybe she's just trying to have a good time and joke about anything, because maybe she probably knew she was going to die there soon. And maybe, I don't know, it was just kind of like a nice, beautiful memory she could have. And and it definitely stuck with Hank for the rest of his life, right? So he still remembers it. And he says, he's like, I think she was trying to be funny.
And I think she succeeded. It was funny.
Definitely. Yeah, that definitely goes pretty well with that. Like, he helps him live a whole type of life. And I mean, I think he kind of, like, where Hank is teaching Manny most of the things, I feel like Manny teaches him like his most important things towards the end. He's like, oh, why do we want to go back to civilization? It sounds boring, you gotta all these rules and all this stuff, and then it almost makes you think, because like, well, they even Hank says it himself. He's like, yeah, we could just stay here forever, we'll just live our lives and be free, and I almost feel like, yeah, maybe that is a better life. Things weren't working really out for you over there. I mean, and for once you seem a little bit more happy, in general, because he never seemed like he was happy with all those kind of those rules, or what society really is, through his dad really not ever accepting him, or just ashamed or whatever, and having problems with dating, or I don't know. And all those other elements, where like out here he's met like his best friend and he enjoys being with them, and they get to be wild, and they can really be themselves, and they don't have to hide who they are, which in society can't do, right? But like, I don't know, there's a balance with it, of how we still got to kind of work with society, but like, in part, like, you don't have to be, I don't believe you have to be ashamed of who you are. That was probably one of his greatest struggles, his internal struggles, I would say, and I feel like Manny, Hank showing him what life is about and helping him grow, and like how, yeah, like how you said, like from a baby to like preteen, like an adult, and then but Manny kind of gives him that reflection, like, I taught you something. Like, especially at the very end when he's farting all the way, he jet skis off and he just got that big grin. He's like, as he's farting away. In a weird way, he gathers everybody there, like the ambulance, the news reporter, the cameraman, Sarah, the girl, and her daughter and her husband or whatever, and then his dad. They all gather up, and at the like, some of them don't understand like what the fuck just happened. Like Sarah's like, what the fuck? And then but his dad, he laughs at what just fucking happened. And to me, I gather that like, all right, he finally like accepted him for what he is,
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. That's how I saw that. It was very pretty. I like that.
I definitely was on board with them staying in the woods when Manny suggested it. He's like, well, that sounds dumb. Why would we go back? Because Hank is telling him like all of these expectations and these rules that we all sort of subscribe to within the confines of our everyday lives.
Mhm.
And I think because, at least to me, I know some people might want to take the more magical realism route and be like, oh yeah, no, it was totally real. And he was a sentient corpse again. And he was going to go live a full undead life, which if you want to.
Sure, why not?
I love that for you. That's great. But because I looked at it as if Manny was projection, but a projection in a way that sort of needed to catch up to Hank's personal mentalities. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but my brain kind of works this way, where I understand something a lot better when I explain it to somebody else. And that's just a good way for me to learn. It's like if I really need to cement something into my memory on how to do something, I explain it and paraphrase it to another person. And that's why I talk to myself a lot. But because Hank is essentially talking to himself and he's using Manny as a sounding board, he's able to then hear back how, not bad necessarily, but he's able to reflect on how much he doesn't actually favor all of these confines that he has placed on himself, because he could simply not. He's like, oh, but you can't talk that way. You can't fart in front of other people. You can't just go up and talk to this girl on the bus. But it's like, you can. If you want to, you can. And I think that's because Hank is using Manny as a sounding board. He is able to get that back at where he's like, oh, now that I say it out loud, it kind of sounds ridiculous. And I think that's one of the biggest motivators at the end is like, okay, now he feels confident rejoining because of all the things that Manny taught him. But Manny was really just him experiencing his own company and liking it for the first time, because I just don't think he liked it before. I don't think he felt like he was allowed to feel fulfilled or validated or happy with just his company and being by himself. But when you're out there and you've just got this corpse again, which I know I would talk to, and I love being by myself. That's one of my favorite pastimes. But it was just so like heartwarming at the end, just because and again, people could have different takeaways, but for mine, it was that he feels confident. I think he would have been okay whether or not his dad did accept him. I think clearly was okay with the fact that all these idealized and romanticized versions of Sarah were just what he wanted in a partner, and she's got a whole ass life,
a husband, kid. Yeah, God.
So I don't think that's going to live up to your fairy tale expectation, sir, but I think he's able to navigate that more rationally, and it's really just because he sat with his own thoughts and was okay with it, and he had fun. Because like, again, the party scene, he is just him and a bloated body, and he's having a great time.
That's what it really is like Hank is the civilized, well-kept, like shy side, and then like Manny's just this like wild, like really raw,
uninhibited.
That he really is. I really love this movie. It was great. I'm so happy I watched it. It's gonna be with me for the rest of my life, and I am so happy that I watched it.
Good pick. Good pick. Snaps all around. Because I was very much under
the influence of marijuana.
I thought about it. But I was like, this is business. I'm on the job. So I didn't, but
Okay.
I was thinking from the name, just I don't know, maybe I just take things at face value too much, but I was like, a dead war veteran. And
What the fuck?
that's an old body if he's from Switzerland. Yeah. When I'd seen the trailer initially, that was in the theater for a movie that came out in either 2015 or 2016. And I had not done a refresher since. I was like, we're just going into it blind, raw, let's hit it. And I'm really glad I did. I loved it. So good choice, good pick.
Thank you.
Snaps all around.
Oh, yes. Next choice is yours. Have you had any thought on what we're going to be talking about?
There are just so many. I want to cover a bad one. Like a bad one that I hate to love and love to hate.
I think I already know what you're talking about.
But I'm up in the air on like two different ones just because I've got some really good quotes from you, particularly about one of them that I think was so funny and on the nose. But everyone will just have to wait and see what that is.
Suspense.
Oh, wait, Jurassic theme. You keep it up and I'll be like, where did you come from?
Let's do it right now.
Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
Beautiful.
That's definitely one that I'll be obnoxiously singing. I told you last week that it was Who Let the Dogs Out.
Man.
Yeah, classic. Do you know they're still making music?
No fucking way.
Irrelevant.
Okay, yeah. We'll be here for another hour.
All right, everybody. Just make sure you fart in front of the people you love.
Play with dead bodies.
Yes, key, critical.
Don't be afraid to be yourself.
Don't let raccoons go into a real human mouth. Make sure it's always the fake one.
Yes, 100%.
If you're gonna kiss a corpse, make sure you at least get consent.
The way you do that, I don't know, but you can figure it out.
It has to be written prior. I'm not a lawyer. You don't have pluggables, but I'll say mine. And then you can leave the people with a beautiful word that I won't ruin by saying pluggables after. Forgot my name. I am at Frankie Stein SFX on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Frankie's Thoughts, THOTS. Also on TikTok, because I just like to spam it there. So come hang. Oh, also, we have an email. If you've got any recommendations or thoughts, comments, concerns,
throw them out there.
We're not licensed therapists, but shoot us an email at iknowwhatyouvwatched@gmail.com.
I'm just here to remind you to pick up your trash wherever you go. Be like Japan, the most wonderful country in the world, with anime, video games, and all the good stuff. I was going to go on a tangent right there, but not this time. Anyways, wonderful people. We'll see you next time.
Adios.
Bye-bye.